Hello, everybody. Today is our November Principal Coffee, and the theme of today is discussing our return to campus, which is currently slated to take place in early January. Going to give some few updates given yesterday's news coming out of the governor's office, and also kind of talk about what the implications are for the short term and kind of projecting out what it might mean for our reopening plans. And then also just wanting to present our preliminary plans for bringing kids back to campus and all the different protocols that we've kind of put in place in order to make sure that it is safe and efficient as possible. Again, I am recording right now. On the invite that I sent out earlier, I had included a Google form link. If you have questions, I have it up here on another monitor. You're welcome to click on that link, fill out a question. It will populate here for me, and I can try my best to respond to those questions at the conclusion of my presentation. And then if I don't get around to answering those questions, I'll do my best to respond to them in this week's banner, which will be sent out on Friday. So again, please use that form to submit questions. Just a reminder, I am recording because the plan for this video is to share it out with the greater community for those families who couldn't join us at this time. So I think I just ran through all that. There is the Google form. Click on that and it will take you immediately to the question submit box. And as I said, I'm going to do my best to share out respond to as many questions as possible during the course of this meeting, but then certainly by Friday through the banner. So a safe return to Bagby is going to be an undertaking that's going to require all of us. It's the district leadership has been working tirelessly on all the different logistics and details with the variety of groups that it works with. Between our teachers and our classified staff, our community and families, our special education department, in trying to make sure that this return is as smooth as possible. Our staff has been working hand in hand. We've had our release day, our in-service day back in October, which we were able to really focus on implementing and discussing some of the plans that I'm going to address with all of you today. So as you can imagine, bringing kids back to campus is going to be a massive logistical challenge. And as we saw yesterday, conditions and circumstances constantly shift. As a result, clear communication and flexibility will remain essential. I was in a meeting yesterday with district leadership talking about kind of next steps. And we learned, along with the rest of California, that we were re-entering the purple tier at the same time as everybody else. We do not get kind of a forewarning that we were going back in to the purple tier starting at midnight today, but we then need to respond and make adjustments. So again, clear communication and flexibility will remain essential as we all work together in bringing kids back to campus. So what the governor did announce yesterday was that the average positive infection rate has nearly doubled over the past 14 days. And we're seeing close to 8,000 cases daily within California. And so as I kind of read elsewhere, the governor elected to kind of put the emergency brake on our situation by upgrading a lot of the counties statewide, 41 of them in fact, to the purple tier, which is the highest level of restrictions. So what does this kind of mean for Bagby specifically? So last night, you should have received this update from Dr. Andrews through your email linked to the district, where she kind of gave an update about what the initial implications are and continued to state that she will make sure that she's keeping the community up to date over the next couple of days weeks and months. So here at Bagby, it means that tomorrow's picture day, which Ms. Darlis Calloway worked tirelessly to work through the logistics of getting it ready to go, will be postponed until further notice. We can't have the picture day take place, even though it was going to be outside in our breezeway. We just can't now because of the upgraded health conditions. Our distance learning supervision cohorts, we have 2 of them taking place on campus right now. Those can continue because in the county health guidelines, those are allowed to continue because they were open prior to a shift back to purple. But the district will be evaluating whether or not those will remain open in the long term, but for now they will be in accordance with those county health guidelines. And then upcoming updates in the days and weeks from both the district and myself related to the SDC return, so our special education classes, which were slated for return in November and December, and then our general education return for TK through 5 with a return in January. We're gonna have to have additional conversations about all of, about those timelines and the implications for those programs, our special education programs, but also our general education classes as well. And so I think it's important that families continue to remain tuned into your emails, because Dr. Andrews again has promised to continue to update the community every Friday. I would anticipate her doing that again this week leading into the Thanksgiving holiday break, in particular given the shift to purple. And then also we're gonna be having 3 board meetings in the upcoming few weeks. So this Thursday on November 19th, and then in early and mid-December on the 10th and 17th, the district will be having a board meeting. And so I would anticipate that in those board meetings, if there were to be conversations related to a shift in schedule, that would be the forum that it would be taking place. As of now, there is no, given that we just received the shift to purple yesterday, we are still proceeding as if we are opening up on the 11th and the 19th of January. But make sure that you're paying attention to your emails for communications from myself, from Dr. Andrews, and then if you would like to actually see the public forum and discussion around the implications for the shift to purple, please make sure you're tuning into our board meetings. And those are sent out, the Zoom links are sent out via email by Carlina Grandi. So just kind of keep a look in your inbox for those. So what are the dates for reopening? So as of right now, they are our SDC classrooms. We're attempting to get them back onto campus in the months of November and December. And the primary focus for trying to bring them back is we understand that a lot of those children need additional supports that their families can't provide, that they have legally mandated services that would be far easier to support here on campus. And we believe that the classroom environment is best for all of our kids, but in particular for these kids, as distance learning is a huge challenge for them. The timeline still stands as January 11th for a TK through 2nd grade return and a 3rd through 5th return on the following Tuesday on January 19th. The return won't take place on the Monday, January 18th because of Martin Luther King Day. Linked here are some of the different guidelines and documents that have been shared out by the county and also the district over the past few months regarding what a return will look like, the safety protocols, etc. So these are listed on our district's website and have been shared out in previous communications, but I wanted to link them here for families to reference back to. So just recently, the board moved forward with a new hybrid schedule. The board really did do a good job of listening to the community and some of the feedback that the amount of asynchronous time has been a challenge in particular for families. And so as we looked at improving the hybrid model, we really wanted to maximize the amount of synchronous time spent with teacher and students. So what the current hybrid model reflects is students in being placed into two different cohorts, and some students attending in the morning to school, while others check in with their teacher, via Zoom for attendance purposes in the morning, and then work on asynchronous work for those 2 mornings. So the students will be on an AABB schedule. So Monday, Tuesday will be one cohort, and then Thursday, Friday will be the other cohort who will be on campus doing their live instruction. So the students who are at home will check in for attendance purposes, shift to their asynchronous work for the morning, while the students who are going to be in person will come onto campus. The teacher will take attendance with the students at home, and then in-person instruction will begin. And then at lunchtime, dismissal will take place with a transition home for those students who are on campus. And then both groups will be signing on for synchronous learning in the afternoon. And what that actually will look like for that hour and a half from 1 o'clock to 2:30 will kind of be dependent on each teacher and the classroom makeup. Whole group instruction can take place during that time. Strategic small groups can take place during that time. And even individual sessions can take place during that time. But in that afternoon, hour and a half time frame, your student will be having some live interaction with their teacher. And again, this was an effort to shift the plans to better address the community's concern about the amount of time of asynchronous work, and how the large amount of it was not working for their family. So when we do bring kids back onto the campus, when we're bringing those cohorts on the campus, I think it's important to kind of look at safety through a tiered system. Not any one of these is the end all be all, but they work together as a system that hopefully will provide a robust level of safety for our kids. So at the bottom of this cone or pyramid are the community efforts. So when we as families are out about in the community, making sure that we're wearing our masks, making sure that we're washing hands, and in particular at this time of year, limiting indoor interactions with individuals outside of our household. Most of the public health officials in recent weeks have really been pleading with the community and the country at large to make sure that we're limiting the amount of interactions we have inside with people who are outside of our household, in particular as we go into the holidays. The next level up is symptomatic children and staff. So oftentimes in a normal school year, teachers would push through the sniffles, or students might come to school with a runny nose, or maybe they're having a little bit of a cough and families would drop them off if it seemed like it was minor. What we're asking is that in order to make this collective effort of bringing kids back to campus work and have it be successful, we need everyone to play their part. And what that means is we don't push through things and we don't send kids to school if they're showing any of the COVID-19 symptoms. We need to make sure that we're taking care of one another, and the best way we can do that is by limiting our exposure to one another if we happen to have the symptoms. So this is going to take a collective effort, some community trust, but I do believe that if the priority is bringing kids back to campus, families will be able to, in that moment when your child is waking up with the sniffles, be able to reflect and say, what is for the greater good? Do I want my kid to continue to want to be able to go to school on campus? And hopefully we'll make the responsible decision to keep them at home. Once your child gets to school, mask wearing and hand washing will be requirements and will be part of the daily routine. So as your students are walking to campus, or as soon as they get out of the car at the drop-off circle, masks need to be on. For adults coming onto the drop-off areas, which I'll talk about a little bit later, masks need to be worn, and we're hoping that everybody is wearing their masks to and from school on the walk or bike ride, as you more than likely will be interacting and sharing sidewalk space with other Bagby community members. We also are going to make sure that we have frequent hand washing taking place and hand sanitizing throughout the day. So in every single classroom, there is now an automatic hand sanitizer dispenser that has been installed. And what we as a staff have already decided is that anytime a student makes a trip to the restroom, We're going to tell them, of course, to wash their hands in the restroom, but upon return from the restroom, they're still going to have to hand sanitize or wash their hands again, just to make sure that we're being as cautious and thorough as possible. The next layer up are our stable cohorts. So I think it's really important to understand that the part of the reason for the hybrid model, where students are only attending for portions of the days, is to limit the cohort size. So as of right now, we are planning to move forward with limiting the number of students and staff in an indoor space for an extended period of time to 16 people. This brings the level of risk down to a safe level that provides an additional level of safety for all. And then, as I kind of mentioned, again, hand washing, hand sanitizing will be part of a regular routine on campus. We'll have staff making sure that it's built into the course of their instructional day, that it's not just before meals, that it's not just when students are coming inside, but it's throughout the day. And then the last layer is distancing. So 6 feet of distancing when possible. I'll show you some pictures of how some classrooms have been set up a little bit later. The 6 feet of distancing is at the top because it is kind of it's the last layer of safety. It is not the one. Students aren't going to be walking around dodging one another. What we really are trying to make sure is that all of the foundational levels of safety are in place, and the distancing is most important to stress between different cohorts, and that will be strictly enforced. We're really going to try to have kids have as normal of a day as possible, but one thing that we will not be having is the intermingling of cohorts. And so that's really where the 6 feet of distancing will be strictly enforced, is making sure that kids and staff remain in their cohorts throughout the day. But we're also trying to let kids be kids. And so I'll talk a little bit more about that, what recess will look like. So cleaning and facilities, I think if any of you have participated or joined any of the board meetings over the past couple months, the cleaning protocols and the facilities upgrades have been a hot ticket item. And so I just kind of wanted to address some of the protocols that are going to be in place to make sure that from a facilities standpoint, we're doing everything we can to make the environment as safe as possible. So the district purchased hydrostatic spraying guns for each site. And so the use of these is for every room that is being utilized on a daily basis to receive a hydrostatic spraying prior to students returning in the morning. So the material has like a 20-minute wait time. It doesn't need to be wiped down. And so our custodial staff can go in, spray the high touch surfaces prior to students coming either in the morning or at the conclusion of the day to make sure that all surfaces have been disinfected. The restrooms are going to be cleaned multiple times a day, and students will be assigned to specific restrooms based on their classroom location. So the hope is that we are minimizing, again, the interaction between cohorts. Bathrooms happen to be one of the places where students potentially could intermingle. We're limiting the restrooms to one student at a time. And again, they are going to be cleaned multiple times throughout the day. So before the school day or after the school day, as well as during the course of the instructional day. As I stated before, hand sanitizer has been installed in all of the rooms. And the expectation is every time a student re-enters the room that they will be sanitizing their hands again or washing them with soap and water at the sink. HVAC, just last week we had a HVAC company come out and do a evaluation of our units and our airflow. And so we'll be receiving the results from those hopefully in a few days. What has taken place in terms of upgrades is all rooms that are occupied have a MERV 13 HVAC filter installed, and our airflow has been turned on from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. This has kind of created some cooler conditions in classrooms, as one of the recommendations from Public Health Department is making sure that you're changing out the air in interior space at a certain rate per hour. And so what this has required is for us to open the air channels to the exterior air and start pulling in some of that air at 6 a.m. And then concluding at 6 p.m. to kind of just maximize when people are on campus, there is clean air circulating through all indoor spaces. The thermostats are still functioning, so it just means that in particular at this time of year, as we shift to our fall and winter season, the rooms start off quite cool, and the thermostats will have to work extra hard kind of throughout the day to kind of stabilize the temperature at comfortable points. And then last but not least, the cleaning and disinfecting products. The district is attempting to be transparent about what materials are being used and for what. And so they have included on their grounds and facilities page a link to the different materials. I just happened to link it here for quick and easy reference for families. So feel free to go and check out what materials have been purchased for each of the purposes. So as I kind of talked about before, one of the really important things is that this is going to take a collective effort, and it also it means that families are going to need to keep kids home when they're not feeling well, when they have a symptom, when they're running a low-grade fever. We really need to make sure that we're taking care of one another, and kind of one of the additional steps that we're going to be asking our families to partake in every day is the use of a mobile health app. So this is similar to what a lot of employers are currently utilizing, where at the beginning of the day, you will complete kind of a brief questionnaire. As we brought kids onto campus for special education assessments, as we brought kids on for distance learning, supervision, and support, and as staff return every single day, we have each of those families and or staff members complete a health survey that affirms that they haven't been exposed, that they don't have any of the symptoms that we should be concerned about. And it just adds an additional layer of people reminding themselves to be aware of their body and their symptoms, and to make sure that they're making responsible decisions, not just for their own personal health, but for everybody else. So as part of our return, the district is in progress with developing with a variety of with a particular developer, a mobile health app that families will basically affirm a student's health daily to make sure that they are symptom-free prior to coming to campus. And then the district is also going to be sharing out a updated kind of family agreement, which basically just lays out the expectation that we're all doing our part in making sure that we're not sending our kids to school when they are ill. So coming onto campus is going to look a little bit different than it has in years past. In particular, I think one of the things that makes Bagby such a special place is just the community aspect and the gathering and the openness of the community, and the socializing that families take advantage of before and after school on our front lawns. And a lot of that, because of the circumstances, is going to have to shift. We're still going to be having entrances on the north side and south side of campus, but for very specific purposes. So I kind of want to walk through what each of the gates that we are proposing to use as entrances, what they will be utilized for, and then kind of what the expectations are for families as we do drop off. So the first gate that we will be opening this year will be entrance A, which is right off of the cafeteria circle, nearest to Lee and Harris. Entrance B is our main entrance, right off of our kindergarten circle. And entrance C is the gate coming off of the Kirtner parking lot on the south side of campus. We are asking that gate off of Kirtner be utilized only for biking and walking. The parking lot will be shut off, but because there's not a safe place because Kirtner is such a busy street and there's not a safe place for families to drop off kids, we are asking that this gate only be utilized for families who are walking or biking to school. In particular, we have quite a few families who live to the south of campus, and we didn't want to necessarily expose them needlessly or them to other families walking up the narrow sidewalk on Lee Avenue. And so we want to make sure that we're maximizing the number of entrances. And so what we're doing is we're going to be opening that one up for walking and biking only. There will be no car drop off because there's just no way to do it safely. And so we're asking that everybody partner in agreeing to those terms. There will be staff at each gate to supervise students' arrival at the gate. And we're going to have conversations as a community about different age groups and kind of the transition back to campus. And I'll kind of talk about what my plans are for TK and Kinder and even our new students and how we're going to get them onto campus. Because again, like I was saying, I do feel that Bagby really is a special place because families have historically been able to bring their kids right onto campus all the way to their door. That's just not going to be possible this year. So we're going to have to work together to get kids onto campus safely, make sure that the transition is as smooth as possible. And so we have some plans in place to support that. So again, families aren't allowed onto campus. And my plan as of right now is for our TK, K, and new students to have kind of some practice arrivals with their families in attendance prior to our return. So this, if the timeline remains what it is, and we're coming back on January 11th or the 19th, then that potentially that first week of January, if public health conditions allow, maybe we could do some practices with those students and families about where they would be getting dropped off, where they would walk through, where their classroom is, and how they can kind of navigate to it. There will be staff throughout all of campus. Just like I said, there will be staff helping support traffic flow. There will also be staff supporting at each of our gates. And then there will also be staff on campus helping students move directly to their class, because as students arrive on campus, they need to walk immediately to their classroom to be supervised by their teacher. We won't have kind of the gathering outside of students on campus on our playground or on the tetherball courts as we did in years past. So this is just a proposal. I think we have had a couple different experiences with pickup and drop off in traditional school years, and we've now had a shift to distributing materials to families. And I think some of our distributions have gone really, really well. And I think our most recent one, given the addition of kind of the Halloween Fun Night, Home and School Club, goodie bag and candy corn, it slowed down our process a little bit, and we ended up with some traffic issues at the corner of Lee and Harris. And so what I'm proposing is kind of a shift back to our plans that we implemented in the spring, where drop off would utilize the flow of both of our circles, but drop off would only take place in our kinder circle, with students then entering either through the cafeteria gate, the mark there with the red push pin, or our main entrance with the baby blue push pin. And the reason for requiring that all cars travel and flow in this direction is to maximize the number of cars that we pull away from that intersection as quickly as possible. We had considered potentially using both circles depending on which gate the student would be at. My concern with that is it would lead to cross traffic and people taking left-hand turns. And so for simplicity, this is what our current plan and proposal is. If you are a Bagby parent who has been bringing your kids to campus on a yearly basis, and you feel like you have a pretty good understanding of traffic flow in the morning, given we're also going to be dealing with half the kids, actually less than half the kids, given that we have quite a few of our families who've opted into our virtual school, but we're going to be only dealing with approximately 200 or so students at any particular time. So hopefully that reduction in traffic will support this and being relatively efficient. But if you do have any ideas, feel free. I'm all ears. reach out to me via email and share what you think might be a good option in terms of traffic flow. So again, cars would be coming from our northwest, entering into our cafeteria circle, would be circling around, excuse me, would be circling around the cafeteria circle, re-entering onto Harris for a brief portion, and then back into our kinder circle with an exit out to the right towards Harris Court. But again, I'm all ears and interested to hear if anybody else has a different solution. So I think it's important that we make sure that we're sharing with our new students and our new families what the different gates and entrances look like. So this is our main gate, represented by the baby blue pushpin on the map. Here is the cafeteria gate, represented by the red pushpin on the map. And here is the Kurtner parking lot gate. So for any of those new families or for any of those young families, showing your students these pictures hopefully will help them be more familiar with where they'll be coming on and off campus. So one of the questions that has kind of been brought up in board meetings and also in quite a few different parent emails that I've received are, what are some of the protective equipment that will be available in each classroom? So the district is making sure that we have masks available for students and staff in case they forget them. We do ask that students and staff presently on campus bring their own masks, but we do have an adequate supply in case someone was to forget one. We also have hand sanitizer that will be, as I said, in the automatic dispensers in every single classroom. We have a large supply of disinfecting spray and wipes. Again, this is not for personal use or wiping down your hands like maybe you would use a baby wipe. These are for disinfecting. And so what we've recommended to staff is to wear gloves while they're utilizing these. Paper towels, disposable gloves, and then the district has purchased a certain quantity per classroom of plexiglass trifold face shields to support some of the different instructional models, the trifold plexiglass barriers, and then we've also purchased some additional face shields available for staff. And we have all those backup supplies in our custodial space and also up here in the office, and we have kind of a system in place for making sure that those inventories are being replenished prior to them being depleted. And think we have a pretty robust system to make sure that we have all the materials we need to maximize safety. So one of the biggest questions is what will a classroom look like? Well, the short answer is most of the classrooms aren't going to look entirely different. What I'm going to show you now is kind of a sample of some of the different classrooms. On our in-service day back in October, our teachers were asked to begin the setup process for their classrooms and to arrange their desks. And so I'm going to show you kind of a sample of what some of those classrooms look like and kind of walk through the different reasoning, as there is not one setup that is required in each classroom. So this is a second grade classroom. As you can see, there's 2 desks next to each other. This is okay because what this teacher is going to be utilizing is the right-hand desk, or one of the desks for one cohort and the other desk for the other cohort, with the desks all being cleaned in between on a daily basis, utilizing that electrostatic sprayer, and then also additional cleaning procedures taking place on Wednesdays. So this teacher elected to have a desk for every single one of their students. However, they will be kind of utilizing a checkerboard model in assigning students based on their attendance in each cohort. Same thing here in a 3rd grade classroom, very similar arrangement. 4th grade classroom. And here's a kindergarten classroom. This kindergarten teacher has elected to use tables. And so we're making sure that the students are spaced out. One potential change to this arrangement is maybe having the students sitting and on the long ends of the table and facing opposite directions. But as you can see, this teacher has put in the plexiglass barrier in between, and the students are spaced out. This is one of our upper grade classrooms, third, fourth classroom. And with this teacher, because of the additional students in our fourth and fifth grade classes, this teacher elected to actually remove some of the desks. And so these desks will be, as with all desks, will be cleaned on a daily basis utilizing the hydrostatic sprayer. But the teacher, in order to maximize the distance between students, wanted some of the desks removed. This is a first grade classroom, so different types of desk, but similar arrangement where either the left or the right desk will be used for a particular cohort and then cleaned. And then the following 2 days after our Wednesday, the adjacent desk will be utilized by their cohort partner. So I think one of the biggest questions that I've gotten from families is what's going to be the same about returning to school? And I want to kind of walk through what recess will look like. So kids will be able to play together. If you've been out and about in the community, driving past some of the different preschools, you frequently see students playing outside together. And again, this is because the primary level of the primary tiers of safety that are in place in these preschools are: 1, students not being sent to school when they're symptomatic; 2, wearing masks; and 3, maintaining these stable cohorts. So what our plan is for recess is to have students are going to be required to keep their masks on. The cohorts will be maintained. So in each of these kind of assigned zones will be assigned a class, and there's going to be an allocated zone for each class based on the day of the week or based on a weekly schedule. And we're going to have staggered schedules. So what you see here are just the different zones that we've kind of identified as a staff, but that doesn't necessarily mean that at any particular point, every single one of these zones is going to be occupied. In fact, what we would probably do is through the staggered schedule is, again, maximize the distance between the cohorts as they're playing with one another. Each cohort, each class is going to have their own supply of balls and jump ropes and hula hoops and different playing materials. And I think it's important to realize that students will, within these cohorts, are going to be able to play with one another just with masks on. But what we're going to be making sure we maintain is strict separation of the different cohorts to make sure that students remain within their zones during the course of their outside time. In our conversation that I had with staff on our in-service day, we've elected that eating, typically students would come outside, they would kind of have their snack, maybe play for a little bit, maybe go back to having snack. And it was kind of based on individual preference. What we're going to be doing now is making sure that eating takes place in a supervised fashion inside the classroom just prior to or just immediately following play. The whole point behind that is so that we can ensure that there's appropriate hand washing prior to students eating. So that's a slight shift in our recess. The plan is for 20 minutes of recess when students are on campus, and with a 5-minute before or after for snack eating. Playground has a question mark next to it. So for quite a long time, our playgrounds have kind of countywide have been closed. Recently, they've begun to reopen. As a school site, we kind of need to continue to have the conversation about the playground. In a lot of ways, the playground would be an ideal place to allocate to a particular cohort for a set time. The challenge is the vast number of surfaces that playgrounds have, and in hopes of maximizing safety, the large amount of surface that would eventually need to be cleaned. It's also important to remember that our community utilizes our fields, our playground in evening hours. And so right now, we're just not sure if we have the custodial capacity to be able to spray down the playground on a daily basis to maximize safety. So for right now, playground is kind of an up in the air zone for recess play, but it's something that we're going to kind of consider if and how we can move forward with it. So what will dismissal look like? This is my proposal again. So exact same traffic flow where we're asking families to utilize both circles for traffic flow. Pickup will take place in our kinder circle, but students will be spaced on the front lawn in zones. So each classroom will have kind of an assigned zone for pickup time. The plan is we've actually taken out 6-foot PVC pipes and spaced it out, and we can actually fit all of our classrooms with the appropriate buffer of 6 feet between cohorts on our front lawn. And so the plan is for teachers to walk their students out just prior to the noon dismissal. Students would be in their zones. Our yard duty and after school supervisors will support in getting traffic through and then helping students move safely from their allocated space on the front lawn to their pickup with their family. So what can you kind of expect in the next days, weeks, and months? So in the upcoming days, given in particular the announcement yesterday from the governor's office, you can expect updates from Dr. Andrews about the implications of the shift to a purple tier. And on Thursday, there is a board meeting, and I'm sure there might be additional discussions about the implications for the shift at that meeting, along with a variety of other items that apply to our reopening slated for January. In the upcoming weeks, we have a board meeting on the 10th and the 17th of December. And additionally, the district will be sending out more than likely an opt-in or opt-out for in-person instruction in order to support reconfiguration if and when necessary. So this I'll kind of talk a little bit about is, I think there's been some, I've received some questions from families asking whether or not when we come back in January, is there a possibility that their child would not have their same teacher? And the answer is, it is a possibility. It is something that we are attempting to avoid as a district, as we think the continuity between teacher and student and the relationships that have been built is essential at this time. However, given the diversity of comfort levels throughout our community, we need to have a better understanding of the numbers of families who are comfortable with a return given the conditions in January, and also the ability to staff and support each of those kids. So if a large number of families decide that they feel that a distance learning model or virtual instruction is what's best for their family, we need to make sure that we have teachers who can shift with those students and families as well. So it is a possibility. The district is working with our different collective bargaining groups, our teachers union, to try to identify some solutions that would give us additional flexibility that hopefully would allow us not to have to reconfigure, but would allow us to provide a variety of different models of instruction, a combination of in-person instruction, families being, and also families who elected to continue to keep their kids virtual. So in the upcoming weeks, more information will be coming out from the district regarding what you as a family need to, what information you as a family need to kind of share. What are some considerations that you as a family need to kind of have conversations about? And then what will be the implications for actual instruction come the new year. Prior to the winter break, there's going to be continued updates from myself. I'm going to be hosting another one of these in December, on December 15th. My plan is to come back and revise and update this plan and presentation for the community, given what the circumstances are at that time. And also by that point, we will hopefully have identified, the plan is that we've identified our Monday, Tuesday, or Thursday, Friday cohorts for all of our families, so that going into the winter break, you know when your student is assigned to attend in-person instruction. The filters that students and families are going to pass through will be, first, we need to make sure that we're prioritizing our students who receive legally mandated special education services. And then also the next group is identifying siblings and scheduling them within the same cohort. And so those are kind of the filters that we'll be utilizing to identify cohorts for Monday, Tuesday, and for Thursday and Friday. And so those will be shared out by me to all families prior to our winter break. So how can you help your students prepare for an eventual return to campus? So practicing hand hygiene, singing the ABCs for 20 seconds. I've linked here some different videos for how you can teach your kids. I think another really important thing is getting kids comfortable with wearing their mask, not only taking on and off their mask, but just kind of keeping it on. I know that some of our teachers have already started practicing with your students at home, just kind of wearing a mask for an extended period of time. I know that when this all started back in the spring, the idea, the first few days of wearing a mask seemed kind of suffocating, but with time, it's almost become second nature, and oftentimes you just don't even notice that the thing is on your face. And so we want to get kids to that point because, again, mask wearing has proven to be highly effective in preventing the transmission of COVID-19, but it's also a requirement that we have for our students to wear one while on campus here. So thank you. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to flip over to the Google form that all of you have kind of been submitting some different questions, and I'll do my best to address them in the next few minutes here. So first question was, now that we've moved to purple, what are the implications for Picture Day? Well, as I said before, Picture Day unfortunately is canceled, not canceled. It is will have to be rescheduled because of the shift to purple. So Darlis will be in communication with all of you to let you know when we will be returning for that. Will the school reopening be postponed until further notice from the county being moved out of purple to the red tier? As I said, this is all brand new information to us. Schools are prohibited from reopening programs under the purple tier. And so Dr. Andrews is going to be working with our county health officials to seek guidance on kind of next steps. And that's why I think it's really important that we maintain clear communication with all of you. So you have my pledge that I will be updating you as frequently as is necessary, including our Friday banner messages. Please make sure that you're paying attention to Dr. Andrews' messages via email. And then it's also really important to attend those board meetings, because I do feel that in the upcoming weeks and months, the reopening in January will be part of the conversation that the board will need to have. One of the questions was, when school opens, will my child have the same teacher? As I kind of explained, that is our goal. Our hope is for your child, we know it to be best for the continuity for your child, for the classroom community that your child's teacher has built. We think it's essential, but we also need to kind of work through all of the nuances of the circumstances with our different collective bargaining groups to determine a solution that works best. So our hope is that we can come up with a solution that allows for additional flexibility for families who want to have their kids back on campus for a portion of a day, 2 days a week, and also allows for flexibility for those families who at this point in time still are not comfortable with the return to campus. So I know Dr. Andrews has been kind of sharing out different communication about some of the potential solutions that we're looking into. And so we hope to have updates in the near term that will hopefully allow us not to have to make that type of reconfiguration. One of the questions at the bottom is, at the last district board meeting, there was discussion about using cameras in class for cohorts who are at home. Do we have an update? So this is the potential solution that the district is looking into and having conversations with our teachers union about. On the one hand, it would increase some of the challenges for our teachers in terms of managing both students in person, but also at home through Zoom. But the interface and the platform would allow for some of the flexibility that we're likely to need, given the ever-changing circumstances that seems like COVID throws at us. It would allow for cohorts to be able to easily shift to distance learning if there was an exposure. If a family has symptoms at home and typically would attend on Monday and Tuesday, but because they're feeling symptoms, they're going to do the responsible thing and stay home for Monday and Tuesday, it would allow for that student to jump on the Zoom call with the rest of their class and hopefully continue a more seamless instructional flow. It would also minimize and reduce the amount of asynchronous work, because hopefully we could have a steady stream of instruction for all of our kids, regardless of whether they're in person or at home. Next question was, have you considered families with 2 or more children? Yes, the plan is to schedule families into the same cohort, because we want to make sure that you as a family can plan childcare around the other days, and also to minimize the number of trips that you're having to make to and from campus. If we are still in the purple tier come January, does that mean school cannot reopen since Cambrian did not apply for the waiver? That my understanding is, yes, schools cannot reopen in under the purple tier any new programs, but those circumstances might change, and so I kind of await additional guidance from Dr. Andrews and district leadership. So thank you all for joining. I hope the information shared today helps you better understand what our current plans are for returning kids to campus on January 11th and 19th. Please make sure that you're paying attention to district communications and school-wide communications as the situation's fluidity kind of demands that we continue to share out as frequently as we possibly can. And again, if you have any further questions, don't hesitate to email me at kretschm@cambriansd.com. Thank you and have a great day.